Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pearce. This is a Ukraine war breaking news, ranty couple of minutes. What am I going to talk to you about in this very late night video? Well, it's me old mucker Tucker Carlson, and goodness me, I do not like this human being. If you remember some time back, I wrote an article, Carlson Heritage, Russia, Follow the Money. And this was an article about Tucker Carlson's connection to Russia. And indeed, the conservative think tank, whatever you want to call it, Heritage Foundation, and how Tucker Carlson's father is on the board for a lobbying company that lobbies for, on behalf of Viktor Orban, the dictator, effectively, of Hungary. And that goes part way to explain connections between CPAC, the Conservative Conference, and arguably Republicans in America more generally, the Republican Party, and Budapest, Hungary. There's been 2 CPAC conferences in Hungary, I think, and there have been likewise movements into the US from Hungarian interests, and then the money coming from Russia through Hungary through to Heritage and indeed Tucker Carlson. And is there any surprise Tucker Carlson has routinely, when he was on Fox and then when he's kicked off Fox, when he has his own program on Elon Musk's Twitter or X, is there any surprise he routinely defends Russia and attacks Ukraine, right? It's all connected. Anyway, Tucker Carlson is now in Moscow. He's at the Bolshoi tonight, I believe, or just recently. Speaking of people with strange obsessions for indicted war criminals, says Tim White, is anyone surprised to see Tucker Carlson turn up in Russia? The sacked Fox News presenter was spotted in the Bolshoi Theatre in Moscow. And there he is. Indeed, Konstantin says, so Tucker Carlson arrives in Moscow, the biggest Trump promoter, former biggest Republican media host, most zealous anti-Ukraine person, arrives in Moscow. It's all just a coincidence. Meanwhile, the bill with aid to Ukraine is stuck in the House of Representatives. In fact, I could do a whole video on what's happening with that bill, given that they are now funding Israel. The Republicans, they split Israel off from the border bill and are not funding Ukraine. It's absolutely disgusting. I want to have a really big sound off against people like Mike Johnson and Republican lawmakers in the United States who are doing things like that. It disgusts me. Israel does not need funding assistance from the US at the moment. So why you would put an emergency funding bill in for Israel and decide not to fund Ukraine is an absolute travesty. Anyway, to continue with this subject matter, in turn, says War Translated, the owner of this very website, i.e. Elon Musk, regularly promotes Carlson's content and helped him kickstart his show here on Twitter. He is in Russia. He is a supporter of Russia and a detractor of Ukraine. This kind of behavior, as Michael Weiss here says, a homecoming of sorts, is not cool. Tucker Carlson has been in Moscow for the past 3 days, according to Russia's MASH outlet. He was spotted at the Bolshoi Theatre today. Just unbelievable. If you are a supporter of Ukraine and a supporter of Tucker Carlson, I think you need to have a little wonder about that, a little think about whether that is at all justifiable. I think that those 2 positions are contradictory. I don't think you can be a supporter of Ukraine and more generally a supporter of Tucker Carlson. I think he is personally a despicable human. I'm not a fan of him, obviously, but I would just urge you to follow the money, read this article if you want some more background on connections he has to Hungary and to money coming from Hungary, and indeed, therefore, to Russia as well. He is in Russia right now, and I don't think he's going to be advocating for Ukraine to Vladimir Putin. Whatever he is recording and doing there, it will not be in defense of Ukraine. That person is a bad human being. That is my late night rant over. I am going to annoy myself to sleep now.